Glutton for punishment. Sorry, I can't do this in front soon. Check. Are we on? We are on. All right. Maybe turn it down just a tad on the slider. Not the knob, the slider. How are we doing back there? We're good? All right. Wow. Thank you all for coming. I promise I won't preach. Well, maybe I shouldn't promise. That I don't know if you saw the last week, after we were done, I was getting down, I looked at my watch and went, whoa. I've got an hour, right? No. Wendell's he's got his timer going right now. That egg timer, he's got 5 minutes on it. Well then, we better open up with the word of prayer. Get ourselves centered and ready for the message. Heavenly Father, Lord, once again we ask for your presence in this room. For your Spirit to open our hearts and our minds as we look at a passage from your word. We need your wisdom and your guidance to come forth. Speak to us what you would have us know. Words of comfort, words of challenge. All we know, Lord, is today we don't want to leave not hearing from you. All this we pray in your Son's precious name. Amen. Today's sermon is one that's special to me. And I was thinking on the ride in, I don't know if I've ever actually preached this sermon before, which is unusual for me. There's several ones that are popular. They get used a lot. James may never duplicate a sermon, but I won't say that I haven't. I may have preached this one once, but this is one that touched my heart many, many years ago. In fact, in just being completely transparent, this is an old sermon titled Chosen from T.D. Jakes. Now, some of you may not know who that is. Some of you may know who that is. Some of you may go, okay, why are you giving them this sermon? I worked at Family Christian stores after I graduated from seminary for a year. I bought this sermon. It was a sermon on cassette. You remember those little things? My kids don't have a clue what I'm talking about.
Yes, we do.
I bought it, a sermon on tape, in 1999. And I don't know how old the sermon was at that point. So this is very early in his ministry. You can see seeds of where he's eventually going in it. But this sermon is full of good stuff. And we won't be doing all of it, just parts of it. But I wanted to let you know, in case you ever find that cassette on tape and pop it in and say, wait a minute, that sounds just like what John preached Sunday. I'm calling Mr. Jakes up and I'm telling him to get his lawyer ready. Today's passage is on John 15. So you could be looking at that. And we'll get to it in a second. We talk a lot about, in Christian circles, a lot of good things. We love, pastors especially, love to talk about addition. But we don't talk much about subtraction, do we? We love multiplication. But we don't want to talk about division. Today's sermon is titled Fruit of Faith. Hopefully this passage is well known to you. You've heard it before. We'll look at it in a few minutes. Like most of Jesus' teachings, it's based in an agricultural situation. As often, his teachings are very down home, easy to understand. Thank you for that. He compares faith and being a Christian to fruit. And I want you to think about fruits for a minute. Growing fruit. Like every other living organism, there's a process to growth. If you take a life and you make it healthy, it's going to grow. Naturally. I mean, it can't help but grow. These plants are an example. If something is not growing, then there's something wrong. What do? Check to see if it's healthy. Does it have enough food? Does it have enough water? Does it have room? Does it have light? Does it have exercise? Maybe not so much for plants, but for us. Faith is like a living organism. I don't know if you've ever thought about this before. It starts from a seed, as small as a mustard. It sprouts. It's nourished, and it grows. But how? We all like to talk about how it should, that faith should be healthy. It should be vibrant. It should be strong. But have you ever noticed that there aren't many conversations on how this is to be accomplished? It's something that is assumed, but we don't talk about it. How do you grow your faith? Do you know? Have you thought about it? No wonder there's so many babes in Christ within the church. Drinking nothing but milk and constantly needing diaper changes. No meat needed here. And perchance some pastor does come along and begin to pass out meat. He even cuts it up into bite-sized portions for them. They don't know what to do with it. Be like tossing a 5-month-old a Slim Jim or a piece of jerky. Kids be like, what do I do with this? I guess it depends on the 5-month-old. Where do we go to learn about these basics of faith? Of production, to use Jesus' analogy. All those little fruits of the Spirit, you know, the ones: peace, love, joy, faithfulness, and all the rest. Like for everything else, where does the Christian go? Turn to the Bible to find out what the Word of God, Jesus, has to say in the Word of God, the Bible. We turn to John 15. And as always, let's stand as we read verses 1 through 17. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire and burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all that I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, so that you will love one another. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You may be seated. Basic agriculture here. Jesus is the vine. We are the branches. Very simply and elegantly put, what does it mean? First rule of faith. You have one job. Stay connected. What does the branch do? Branch doesn't do anything except grow the fruit. They only do that by hanging up and not breaking the string. The power of the vine flows through the branch. You don't believe me? Take the branch off. The branch does what the vine tells it to do. It obeys the wishes and direction of the vine. The power of the vine, like I said, flows through the branch. The branch is merely a conduit. We start here. There's this misconception that faith is something that I work on, that I do. You do nothing but stay connected, and God does the work. It's His job. It's your job to be obedient. You do that by hanging on. Are you not growing and maturing in your faith, beloved? Perhaps that's because you're in the driver's seat. Contrary to bumper sticker philosophy, God is not your co-pilot. He shouldn't be. There's a much better rendition out there. Jesus, take the wheel. Take it from my hand. Powerful words, but what do they mean? Why? Because we are sitting where we have no business being. Yet we're too scared to stop, to let go. Point number one, you're a branch. Know your place. Know your job. Beloved, our power comes from Him, not us. Despite everything you may hear outside, I got a dirty little secret for you. Satan is not afraid of Jon Oberdick. He's not afraid of you either. Who is he afraid of? He's afraid of God. He's afraid of the power of God flowing through us. Because it is the name of Jesus that makes devils flee. He is the vine. You are the branch. I am the branch. Point number two, basic pruning. Now, some of you know I'm a city boy. I admit it. I love the country now. I don't want to go back. But I grew up there, you know. We were able to ride bikes around because we had sidewalks. You know, we didn't have cow pastures. So I said, well, if I'm going to preach a sermon on John 15, I might want to know just maybe a little bit about pruning, because that's where we're going. And what does a person nowadays do? They bring up YouTube, they start watching videos, right? And I watched a couple hours worth. It was interesting. All kinds of different kind of people have vines. But watching them, they all were kind of doing the same things. And so in case, anybody here ever raised vines, grapevines? No? Do you? All right, you might know a little bit. If I get something wrong, let me know. Basic pruning. Why do we do it? Why does a vine keeper prune? To control the growth, and this is what I learned, and the direction of the growth of the vine. Basically, up is good. Down, sideways, bad. Something else I learned. The best fruit comes from new growth, with the old removed to focus the vine's energy and nutrients on that area. Gets rid of all other distractions. One place, and that's where the fruit comes. The whole idea, the branches produce fruit. You prune them, they be more fruit, and then much fruit. Just like someone we know just said. We are like these vines. First get saved. We first had that brand new faith. We want to take it out for a spin. We start to produce that fruit. We finally get that first little fruit. And we're so excited. We see those little buds appear, then they start to blossom. And then the fruit comes and we're ecstatic. We figure that if we can hold on to this little fruit, then in a couple of years we might have enough to top a shortcake or make a really small jar of jelly. But when does the vine ever get to keep the fruit, beloved? In fact, if it will stunt any new growth, it will damage the new vine to keep it on there. So, the vine dresser, who knows this, comes and takes the fruit away. We don't talk about this, do we? Not only does he take the fruit, he does other things. He's noticed that vine. Oh, look at you, you got little fruits. You're now on the vine dresser's radar. I mean, it may or not be a good place. What does he do? He prunes it. He cuts it back. He takes away from it. Pretty drastically, too, sometimes. Now, I don't know if plants have feelings, but if they do, I can't believe they're terribly happy about this. If they could, they might just protest a little bit. Excuse me, Mr. Vine Dresser, wait a minute. But guess what? His concern for them covers far more than a single growing season. His plan may stretch over several years. He knows that to get from fruit to more fruit requires pruning. And not always just a snip here or there. Sometimes, and they did on the videos, go watch if you don't believe me, they laid to it. Taking huge chunks of things that aren't there's nothing wrong with that part, but it's not what he wants, so he takes it off. All because he knows that the next season, there'll be even more fruit off that branch. Then guess what? Next year, even if he's proven right and there is more fruit on that branch, He does it again. And again. And again. Every year. Chop, 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 chop. Cleaning out the worn out, the dead, the dried out, so that the new and the young and the vibrant can grow. Now before we get off track, let me back up a bit. God is not merely pruning away old growth to make room for the new. I'm trying to confront ways that Satan may try to derail this message. He doesn't remove old just because it's old. Most of the vines in the vineyard have been around for years or more. That apple tree in the backyard, you don't let it grow 5 years and cut it down. Their apple trees have been out there for decades or more, still producing fruit. Just because something is old doesn't mean you throw it away. He's cleaning off the dead portions, not the old ones. You know, tiny babies slough off their dead skin, just like people who are 100 years old do. Your duties and responsibilities never end as a child of God on this planet. Hear me, beloved. They may change with the season. They may adapt to our current physical, mental, and emotional state, but they never cease. As long as you have breath. Sometimes God wants us to hunker down and bull rush our way through adversity, even when we can't do it anymore. But this is exactly how God builds our faith. We have seasons of growth and vitality, then of producing fruit. Next comes harvest. Then the harsh winter may set in. Sometimes it's harsh, sometimes it's mild. Then in the spring, pruning starts again. Let me give an example from my own life that I pray will help illustrate what I mean. If you live long enough in the Christian life, you will eventually have a crisis of faith. They come to everyone. And no two peoples are the same. They are not a competition. What may be difficult for me may be simple for you, and vice versa. Talking with some of you, I know some of you have walked through adversity that I simply cannot comprehend. I don't know what it's like. I don't want to know what it's like. The important thing is not how to measure up to, how they measure up to each other, like some macabre, diabolical contest, but how we deal with them and what we learn from them. In my life, and there have been more than one, but this was the first big one. The year was 1995. Some of the folks back in the back don't even remember 1995. I was about to graduate from college. I crammed 4 years of college into 6 by changing majors and doing some other things, going part-time, because I paid for my college. I was coming off a spiritual high. I was very active in our Baptist Student Union there on campus, and in many ways it had become a church to me. And we had just gone through a period of internal revival. There was lots of worship going on, there was lots of Bible study going on, everything was flying, and I was about to head off into seminary. And then New Year's, 1995. A couple weeks later in January, we get a call in the middle of watching a movie that my dad's mom, my grandmother, on his side, died suddenly. Now, she had been sick for a while, but we didn't know that it was anything like this was imminent. And, you know, they do what you do in that kind of situation. You make arrangements, and they drove up. I couldn't go. I had a test to the funeral. I couldn't go. I had a test the day before, and they had to leave. Our church rented a van, and so I was able to make it for the summer, and we came right back. And they wanted me to go, but she died out of the blue. A couple months later, I broke off a relationship. Well, she broke off. I didn't break. A relationship of someone I had thought at the time was going to end up sharing my name for stupid reasons. A couple of weeks later, our dog of 15 years died. Now, some of you may be close to animals, some of you may not be. But, you know, I'd grown up with this dog since I was 10. I was 24 at the time. And she was there all throughout the middle school years and the high school years. And, you know, she was 15, she had enough. Five days before graduation, my mother's grandmother died. 5 days before the graduation she had always swore that she would be at. I wasn't able to go to that one. A couple of weeks later, my sister was involved in an armed robbery at church. And thank God there were two other men with her, because she could have easily been shot and probably would have been raped if they had not. He started to go after her, and they courageously made him back off, and for whatever reason he did. Following that, I moved out of the house. You know, college was an at-home thing because I couldn't afford to go anywhere but the local community college. Nothing wrong with that. But now I'm away, and that's good and that's bad. We've all been there, except for some of those same punks on the back row. I get there, and I'm starting seminary. Feel like this is where God wants me to be. And I start having problems there. I take a youth position at a local church that I end up loving and serving for 4 years. But this youth position, they had just got rid of a guy who had been there for 5 years, and he walked on water. I don't know if you've ever been the guy that follows the great guy. It doesn't work out. And it didn't work out for me, and they hated me. And then things going on in seminary, and I was ecstatic because I was going to finally learn Greek and Hebrew. And I'm also hearing other things, and they're bothering me. And they're causing me to question. All of this starts to send me in a tailspin. You know, I feel like one of those guys in the action movies where the guy has an automatic gun and he's just unloading the clip and the guy's just standing there, but he can't fall down because he's still getting hit. That's what I felt like. Whether or not, you know, all of this together adds up or not is not important. That's how I felt. And the worst part of it was God was absent. I went from close praise, prayer, spiritual relationship, the BSU to nothing. Siberia. Couldn't feel them. Didn't hear them. I remember saying, Lord, everything okay? I don't know if you've ever been there or had that kind of relationship. I hope you have. And if you haven't, we're going to try to get you there. Not the Siberia part, the warm part. But I remember crying myself in my bed, crying to myself in my bed, saying, Lord, have I done something wrong? Whatever it is, please tell me. I'm sorry. Just let me know. I'll make it right. And nothing. And this went on for years. It's like, was I wrong? Did you not want me to come here? Was I wrong? Did you not want me to do this thing or do or work here? Nothing. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know why. It's like somebody had pulled the plug. I'm sitting alone in a dark room. I understand now more what was going on during that time. Because that is how faith is grown. Sure, the mountaintops are fine. It's great to be there. I want to be there just as much as you all are. And yes, things happen when you're on the mountain. You have thoughts. You have worship. You have new revelations. But that is not where faith has grown. Faith has grown in the valleys. Of going through the valleys. David knew this. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. No one wants to be there, but you don't go around it. I had to come to a point where everyone comes to a point in these crises of faith. Sooner or later, you are going to be forced to make a choice. You're going to have to make up your mind. Do I believe in God or not? Is he who he says he is? Faith is a gift. It's also a choice. One of the best illustrations of this point comes from All Things, a Hollywood Christmas movie. I've talked about this before. Anyone seen Polar Express? The scene where they're at the North Pole. This kid is having his crisis year. He doesn't know whether or not he believes in Santa anymore. And he's gone through the whole movie throwing doubt on everybody's beliefs. They're at the North Pole and they're waiting for Santa to come out, and everybody, the reindeer are there and the sleigh is there, and everyone is happy, and all the other kids go, "Oh, it's so beautiful! Don't you hear the sound of the jingle bell?" And he can't hear it because he doesn't believe. And all of a sudden, the one little bell, gets knocked off the bell and it rolls to his feet. And he picks it up and he shakes it. He can't hear a thing. And he realizes what needs to happen. He has to make a choice one way or the other. And he finally says, "I believe." And he shakes it, and then now he can hear it. That is what faith is. It's a gift from God, but we choose. We choose to hold on. We choose to be obedient, even when we are in those crises of faith. Why? Because we know, God knows what is best for us. And through obedience, we get to be a part of his mighty work. What is faith? True faith is not a clenched fist. It's an open hand. God, add whatever you want to add. Take away whatever you're going to take away. I'll praise you when it comes, and I'll praise you when it goes, because my faith is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. If I needed it, you would have let me keep it. You have other plans. I trust your plans. To get from fruit to more fruit requires pruning. God doesn't stop there. The goal is not more fruit. A lot of people, if you ever get past the fruit part, now a lot of people are stuck on more fruit. Oh, I went through that. I don't ever go through that again. It's not how it works. Part of being obedient is opening up those fingers. That's hard. Sometimes you got to pry them open. Sometimes you got to tie them off. We don't like those palms exposed. Because God takes things. It hurts. Most of you in this room know what it's like to grieve. Which is why when one of us is grieving, we all can grieve. Because we know. My kids, they don't know. Not yet. I still have both my parents. My wife still has both her parents. I haven't gone there. Some of you have. Some of you have been there. You know what it's like. I don't know. I have more to experience. I'm not looking forward to that day. It may be soon for some. But I know what it's like to grieve. I know what it's like to miss somebody. And they're in heaven and I'm here. But it's my loss that teaches me. Grief is a pain, is a great teacher. It will teach you one of two things: bitterness or compassion. There's a book out there called The Wounded Healer, and it's brilliant. This concept of people helping healing others because they know and they are experiencing what it's like to be wounded. Pruning happens every year. It never stops. Some years are more drastic. But if you want that fruit coming in, I mean, and they in those videos they had big old bunches of grapes. It happens every year. It never stops. And it still hurts. Even when you're there. It's not like, oh, they don't bother me anymore. But what has happened? You have come to the point where you know this is for my good. There are things to be learned. This will help me minister to others who are in the same place. God wants you. God wants His church in a place where they make much fruit. Because there's a world right outside those doors that is starving. Do we hoard our few grapes? Or do we throw wide open the doors and we place them in our bunches in a basket? And we pass them on? Let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we love you. need your help. We need your help to be obedient, to do what is right. We need your help to know the season. When it is time to grow, or when it is time to prune, or when it is time to harvest, or when the harsh winter sets in. We need you especially then. And oftentimes it feels in those times that you're far away. We know that is not true. And that is why you have given us a church family. Even when we can't feel you, we can feel each other. You've given us arms to hug each other and fingers to wipe away the tears. Through good times and the bad, may we bear much fruit for your kingdom. And may you receive all the glory. For you are the great vine dresser. We are the branches. All this we pray in the precious name of your Son, who came, who lived, who died,